Before we begin the hearing, I want to share a few logistics on Zoom features and how this meeting will run. In order to minimize background noise, please take a moment to make sure you're muted. We ask that everyone remain muted during the hearing to reduce background noise. There will be an opportunity to provide oral testimony, at which point we will unmute those who wish to speak one by one. If you have joined online, please enter your name, affiliation, and email in the chat box located in the chat bar of the Zoom control panel on your computer or at the top right of your mobile device by clicking the chat bubble icon. If you would like to testify, type testify after your name. Type testify after your name and use the raise hand function of Zoom. If you're having trouble finding the chat box on your computer, try clicking on the triangle to the left of the word chat to expand the bar. If you're on the phone, we will unmute callers one at a time after the presentation to ask for this information and provide an opportunity for testimony. Do not use the chat function to provide written testimony or substantive comments on the proposed regulation. The hearing will now begin. This is a public hearing for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. My name is Will Space, and I'm the hearing officer on this matter. With me on the hearing panel today is Camilla Petrosha and Joshua Cook. We are making a digital audio recording of the hearing. We are here today, May 24th, 2022 at 10 a.m. and again at 6 p.m. at a remote public teleconference to accept testimony concerning the proposed regulation 310 CMR 775 Clean Energy Standard. At this time, MassDEP will not be responding to any questions or comments regarding the regulation. If anyone wants to provide comments on this proposed regulation prior to the end of the public comment period on June 3rd, 2022, and needs interpreter services, MassDEP provides language access, interpreter translation services to limited English proficient individuals free of charge. Information about these interpreter translation services is available on MassDEP's webpage. The hearing is now open. MassDEP has proposed changes to Regulation 310 CMR 775 Clean Energy Standard. The proposed amendments would provide additional certainty to regulated entities regarding the need to accelerate the schedule for decarbonizing the electricity supply and alternative compliance payment rates. The accelerated schedule is consistent with Massachusetts' net zero greenhouse gas emissions goal for 2050, announced in January 2020, the 2050 decarbonization roadmap, and the goals set out for 2030 and 2050 in the interim CECP and Chapter 8 of the Acts of 2021, an act creating a next generation roadmap for Massachusetts climate policy. Written testimony will be accepted until 5 p.m. on June 3rd, 2022. This is the date and time by which any written comments must be received by MassDEP. It's not a postmark date. Please submit written testimony electronically to climatestrategies@mass.gov. Or if you wish to submit written testimony on paper, please mail it to Joshua Cook, Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, 1 Winter Street, 6th floor, Boston, Mass. 02108. Comments sent to any other address may not be received in time to be included in the official docket. In a moment, we will begin to unmute computer participants who have indicated they wish to provide oral testimony. Once all computer participants who have indicated they wish to provide testimony have done so, we will call on the phone participants who wish to testify to identify themselves and ask them to present their oral testimony. To ensure that those who wish to testify are able, we ask participants limit oral testimony to 5 minutes. Please speak clearly and distinctly. I will now open oral testimony. So Josh, I think you're going to call names out. Is that the plan here?
Yes, first we have Thomas.
Tom Urancian? Is that the Thomas?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Joshua. So I'm Tom Urantian, principal and co-founder of Commonwealth Resource Management. I represent the Coalition of Massachusetts Anaerobic Digestion Facilities, whose members own and operate 8 landfill gas to energy facilities and 13 anaerobic digestion biogas to energy facilities in Massachusetts. These 21 projects comprise the extent of anaerobic digestion facilities operating today in Massachusetts. These projects, which destroy methane generated from digestion of organic waste or collected from landfills, are an important part of the state's environmental infrastructure. The projects together generate 30 megawatts of low-cost, continuous, reliable, renewable energy. The coalition was formed as a direct response to recent Department of Energy Resources changes to the RPS Class 1 regulations. The changes put at risk the economic viability of all 21 Massachusetts projects. In particular, the DOER recently reduced the value of the alternative compliance payment for Mass Class 1 RECs by over 40% to $40 per REC in 2023. DOER's actions in the absence of DEP action would reduce the value of the ACP for the MassDEP Clean Energy Standard credits to $20 per REC in 2023. Because these two credits are inextricably tied together, the market price for both the Mass Class 1 RECs and the Clean Energy Standard credits would likely drop to below $20 per credit in 2023. The economic health of the coalition's methane destruction projects depend on having REC values in the range of $40 per REC. A drop in the market price for the RECs and Clean Energy Standard credits below $20 per credit would be a huge economic blow to our Massachusetts projects and to this important renewable energy and environmental infrastructure for collecting and destroying methane. Without these 21 Massachusetts projects, the consequences include more greenhouse gas emissions, more exports of food waste to distant landfills, less low-cost renewable electricity, less reliability, less renewable energy diversity, less environmental protection, more fossil fuel electricity, and higher cost to municipalities. We applaud and support the DEP for proposing to increase the ACP for the Clean Energy Standard credits to $35 per credit. This is huge. This proposed increase would go a long way to remedy the damage to the RECs market from DOER's change in its regulations. We asked the DEP to consider increasing just a tiny bit further the ACP to $40 per credit and adding an adjustment to ACP annually by the Consumer Price Index so that the Clean Energy Standard credits are on par with the Mass Class 1 RECs. Having equal ACPs moving forward in 2023 would provide a more stable priced market for credits that would better support the economic viability of our 21 Massachusetts projects. We also applaud the DEP for increasing the percentage requirements for clean generation attributes listed in the Table A in their regs from 2026 through 2049, which increases the demand for renewable energy projects overall. To assure the economic viability of our 21 Massachusetts projects under most of the plausible future scenarios, the proposed DEP changes to the Clean Energy Standard would need to be implemented by January 2023. We're pleased with the proposed DEP changes and are very supportive as a coalition. We would be pleased to provide any information to DEP at your request. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. It seems like a reminder might be in order that, as I said at the beginning, our sort of alternative for the sign-in sheets we used to do is to have people make sure to enter in the chat box, and this applies to everybody, your name, affiliation, and your email address, so we have that. Josh, do we have a next testifier?
Yes, the next speaker will be Kai Salem. Kai, I'm going to request that you unmute now.
Great. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Thanks. My name is Kai Salem. I'm the policy coordinator at Green Energy Consumers Alliance. We are a nonprofit advocate based in Massachusetts. We just celebrated 40 years, and we advocate for a transition to a low carbon future. We did submit comments about a year ago on the draft paper considering revisions to the Clean Energy Standard, and some of our comments today are similar to the comments we submitted a year ago. We strongly support increasing the Clean Energy Standard substantially to get as close to 100% renewable as possible as we can, as soon as we can. Just today, the Rhode Island Senate Committee is voting to achieve 100% renewable electricity by 2033, and that's all Class 1 REC. So Massachusetts is now significantly less ambitious than Rhode Island will be when this bill passes, or even than Connecticut will be with their most recent legislative update. The less we do now on renewable electricity, the harder it is to meet our Global Warming Solutions Act goals, because we will have to address emissions in Massachusetts through transportation and heating, which are more difficult to decarbonize, especially without an already decarbonized grid. We recognize that these regulations are an increase to the Clean Energy Standard, which is great, but we think that it could go further, especially because after 6% per year increase until 2030, it drops down to 1% increase after 2030. So we appreciate that these standards increase the Clean Energy Standard significantly, but strongly urge DEP to increase them even further and keep that high rate of increase until we hit 100% and stay at 100% going forward. We also oppose the increase of the CESE from 20% to 25%. We just should be prioritizing high quality Class 1 RECs over existing generation, because this existing generation is not going to help us meet our climate goals long term. And it also is contrary to our need to support the clean energy industry for the economics and jobs that they bring to the state. I think those are our main comments, but we will be submitting written testimony as well. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Great, thank you. Josh, who's next?
I don't see anyone else that has indicated they would like to testify. We do have one phone caller with a phone number ending in 4318. I'm going to unmute you and just see if you would like to provide testimony.
No, thank you. I was having trouble with the audio on the Zoom call, so I called in, and I'm also on Zoom.
Excellent. Thank you. At this time, I don't see anyone else who's indicated they would like to testify.
Great. So last call. Has anyone presented testimony who wishes to do so? Sounds like yes. So I thank all of you who testified today, as well as those who have attended this remote hearing without testifying. All the testimony from this hearing will be considered before MassDEP finalizes the proposed regulation. After the public comment period closes at 5 p.m. on June 3rd, 2022, we will review and take under advisement the comments raised during this public comment period prior to issuing the final regulation 310 CMR 7.75. When the final regulation is issued, it will be posted on MassDEP's website. We will notify all parties who have participated in the public hearing process when the posting is completed. There being no further testimony, I hereby close this remote hearing at 10:15 on May 24th, 2022. Thank you.